TFC Prime. We're going to talk a little MMA, UFC, and WWE. Unfortunately, with WWE, we had some sad news going on this week.
Yeah, the death, apparent suicide of Brian Christopher Lawler, who is Jerry the King Lawler's son, was in WWE for a number of years during the Attitude Era. His ring name was GrandMaster Sexay. He was a part of Too Cool. They won a WWE championship and everything. He was very well liked by the WWE universe, its fans, I would say, and even at the time of his death, unfortunately, it looks like they were kind of making roads for him to make a return to WWE. Over the last couple of years, Lawler kind of battled substance abuse problems, and just a couple of days ago was pulled over and arrested for DUI, driving while under the influence, and kind of battled these personal demons over the last few years, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, we'd never really understand, decided to take his own life and is dead at 46.
Man, yeah, it's hard to see. We know that mental illness is real, so prayers out to the Lawler family. Yep. And then one of the guys that I grew up on, you know, we were just talking off camera about it, yep. And it's just one of those things that you never think about. That, you know, when I was watching wrestling back in the 70s, if I had known that Nikolai Volkoff would still be somebody relevant in 2018, I would have never thought that, but he just passed at 70 years old, yeah. And that's a great loss as well. Yeah,
one of the great villains of WWF at the time, WWF, back Vince McMahon Sr. days, and a legendary team with the Iron Sheik. Of course, won a WWF Tag Team Title Championship, was one of the great villains, but also behind the scenes was known as one of the great nice guys in the industry, was extremely universally well liked in the locker room, was one of those guys that everyone had a great story about, a great story with, and you know, lived a long, full life and was active up until just a few years ago as far as making appearances and things like that. It's really sad because he was one of my favorite villains of all time, and I know a lot of people share that sentiment, but dead at 70.
Wait, he was making appearances at 70 years old? There's still a future out there for me, folks. I'm gonna keep this party going until I can't walk.
This is one of his appearances at 70 years old. What are you talking about?
You got jokes.
Okay, I do have jokes.
So what else is going out there in the UFC world?
Yeah, MMA, the MMA world, UFC just held UFC Fight Night, I believe 30 or 31 or I don't know. It was a very good card from top to bottom. The sad thing is, like, the ratings, the TV ratings come back in, and hardly anyone is watching these cards anymore. And you gotta wonder what that situation is, whether it's oversaturation of the overall MMA product, or just people have a lot of options these days, and MMA just doesn't quite capture the eyeballs that it used to. Maybe UFC is kind of peaked. I don't know. There's a lot of questions out there, but all I can say is Dustin Poirier defeats Eddie Alvarez in a really, really great matchup, really great fight, and now is kind of taking control of that division. And it's really weird. The one thing that kind of stood out to me is that Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez, and the co-main event was Jeremy Stephens getting stopped by former champ Jose Aldo, and at the top of all four of those men is, of course, Conor McGregor, who stopped all the other guys and verbally beat down Jeremy Stephens. That's where the famous "Who the Fook is this guy?" where that came from is his comment to Jeremy Stephens, which absolutely roasted Stephens, continues to roast Stephens to this day. A lot of good stuff, but I don't know, man. I don't even catch all the cards anymore, just to be totally honest. You can't catch every single card. There's a lot of hardcore guys out there that really do catch every single card, but if you have anything other to do, work, family, anything like that, missing a card here or there is just kind of a given these days.
I think I was taking a nap on this last fight. But no, I gotta agree with you. One of the things, it's the casual fan, it's me. Yeah. I used to watch all these events and just going out there on a daily basis, making sure that I knew who was fighting when. But I don't even know who the champions are anymore. You know, if I look out there, you know, the Conor McGregors, he's become too rich. Everyone else has retired.
Yeah.
Bones Jones, you know, he's on a suspension. So I think they've taken some of the allure out of it. You know, all the guys who were the big names, they've aged themselves out. No one, you know, the people that you think are going to be good fighters coming up, they don't sustain for whatever reason. You know, they don't have any backstory that wants you to get in there and enjoy him. Because Conor McGregor, he created a backstory like nobody else. He came in there, he got him, he got the money, and he ran. And so I can see what the ratings are here, because I stopped watching it. So I get it.
Yeah, and you're a sports guy.
And I'm a sports guy.
We have a sports show, and that's what we do. And just like every NFL game you don't catch, well, that's kind of where the point is you don't catch every UFC card. But unfortunately, the NFL doesn't. I mean, the UFC doesn't carry nearly the eyeballs that the NFL does, and so every little dip of 1 million or 500,000 viewers for each card, especially on free TV, means a whole lot of advertising dollars for these for this organization. So unfortunately, we'll see as they continue to do the roller coaster of ratings and pay-per-view buys to see what the new normal is for the UFC. In boxing, transition there, like my segue there, I just took a breath. In boxing, Mikey Garcia unifies the WBC and the IBF lightweight titles. He's now 39-0. And of course, what does he do? He calls out Mr. Errol Spence. He says, let's do this, let's unify it. I want all the belts. I want all the marbles. There's a lot of fights out there in that category. I mean, Lomachenko, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, a lot of great undefeated fighters. Keith Thurman's still out there somewhere. If he ever decides to fight again, Keith Thurman's out there. A lot of good guys. So Mikey Garcia stepping up and saying, you know what? All these other guys seem to be dancing around each other. So I'm gonna go right at some people now. So we'll see what happens there. Mikey Garcia, we've had him on the show before. He's a good kid. He's he's got a bright future. He's still very young. 39-0 though. WBC IBF lightweight champion. That's
it. Well, we caught up with TFC Prime, talking a little inside the ring. We'll be back after this quick break.